Hello and welcome to the third match day championship predictions from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage, and with me, as always, is Mr. Daniel Cody. Let's have a quick recap what happened on match day 2, and it was Desmond 2-2 in perfect scores. Daniel Cody got two perfect scores on a 0-0 draw between Preston and Hull, and Reading's 2-1 victory against Cardiff. I've got my two perfect scores on Sheffield United beating Millwall by 2-0, and West Brom 1, Watford 1. But however, Daniel Cody has that extra game where he got the extra point. So Daniel Cody wins match day 2 by 9 points to 8. So let's get on with match day 3. We start Friday night football again. We have Watford versus Burnley. Both these two teams drew 1-0 last weekend. Watford drew 1-0 on West Brom, and Burnley drew 1-0 against Luton.
Yeah, I mean, starting with Watford, obviously, because that was Monday night on TV. I know they probably could have nicked it because they had a penalty late on, but it was actually a very dominant West Brom performance, if anything. So I think they'll probably be quite happy with the point. They didn't have much of the ball, they didn't have many chances. Obviously, the goal came from an unusual circumstance. I'm going to leave it at that so we don't have an argument about it like we have all week. But overall, look, a point away to a side that we expect to be in the top six is not a bad result to back up what they did the week before. Burnley, almost the opposite, really, had a lot of the ball against Luton, didn't create many glorious chances. I think Luton, as we saw last season, were very structured, very disciplined, and were able to take the ball in key areas. But in the end, a point, probably a fair result. And Vincent Company was very honest in that after the game, which is going to help his young team as they develop. But as we come into this one, I almost see a similar pattern. Burnley almost playing like the home side, keeping the ball an awful lot. Watford hitting on the counter with that fabulous front three. I'm going to go as safe as houses for the first one. You would have known from the start what I was going for. I'm going 1-0, Championship's favourite scoreline.
Right, where do I start? Where do I start? The goals overrated. I don't care. We've seen many goals in the past. They're just overrated goals. But at the end of the day, we should be talking about how poor the penalty was from Sarr. It was very, very poor. Too casual. And Watford could have nicked 3 points. Let's be brutally honest. As you said, West Brom were very dominant throughout the game, had more shots, more possession, all that stuff. Problem is for Watford is they're doing this now. Sarr and Dennis, all that stuff. There's still 3 more weeks or 2 more weeks of the transfer window left. So, and the clubs are linking into them now. So, I think Watford's victory will become, and the transfer window and three are still there. Burnley got what I expected. First home game, very nervy start. Luton took full advantage of that, typical Luton in a way. But credit to them, they came back into the game, changed it a little bit at half time, and got their equaliser early on. And you think normally the tide would turn, they got the equaliser and Burnley gone to win it, but it wasn't the case. And as I said, Luton stuffed them out very well, and only resorted to one shot on target, and that was the goal from Brownhill. I'm going to go for a Burnley win in this one. I'm going to go by 2-1. Right, next up on Saturday, we have Cardiff versus Birmingham. Cardiff lost 2-1 to Reading, but Birmingham beat Huddersfield 2-1 on Friday night.
Yeah, and Birmingham, to be fair, they got the winner predicted. Shame they're letting the late goal because that would have got me another perfect score. But they've actually started the season pretty well. A little bit concerning, I guess, in a cup in midweek to letting a couple of goals in quick succession, but it was against a good Norwich side. Cardiff, it looks good, didn't it? Getting the 3 points against Norwich the first day of the season, but it was a gritty game. The Reading game was similar. They ended up on the other side of it, and the rotated side was awful in the cup in midweek. So I'm not really sure what to expect from this game, other than low scoring and poor performances, probably, to be honest. So I'm interested to see if Birmingham and John Eustace sets up the same way he did at Luton, or if he feels he can win this game, because I think they've got a chance if they go for it. But I'm going to bank on him being fairly cautious. Oh, I really don't know what to go for this game. Goalless. It got me 3 points last weekend. I'm going goalless.
There's no point talking about the League Cup because half the teams are now out of the League Cup in this league, and all 9 teams that played lower opposition all lost. So there you go. I'm not expecting a classic, so I'm going to go for another 1-0 victory for Cardiff in this game. Cardiff be disappointed from the defeat to Reading. All right, they lost to a great strike by Tom Ince, but yeah, Birmingham. Huddersfield seems to be the easy opponent at the moment. So, yeah, I'm going to go Cardiff to go back to winning ways. I'm going to go for 1-0 win. Right, Blackpool are playing Swansea. Blackpool lost 2-0 to Stoke, and Swansea got battered 3-0 at home to Blackburn.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. As I said, from Saturday onwards, I am dreading this because for those of you that were here last season, will know Craig was a particular fan of Swansea's defending, and the first goal against Blackburn and the first goal they're letting in the cup, by the way, were both problematic and same old story, shall we say. This is where the issue comes, though, because Swansea are making the same errors at the back. Blackpool, I know they nicked a 1-0 against Reading, but they're really struggling for goals at the start of this season. So I don't know which is going to come out on top. Are Swansea going to gift a goal? You have to almost assume they are at this point because, again, we're now getting into a spell over the end of last season and the start of this with no clean sheet in ages. I think Blackpool, because they're a solid side. Yes, they're probably going to get done on the counter at some point. If Michael Obafemi can take one of the glorious chances he's been gifted at the start of the season, it'll probably be a goal. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Swansea. I think they'll just nick it, but they're going to give Blackpool a gift. But Blackpool, for me, are in trouble this year.
I'm not going to say much about the Swansea defending. They clearly haven't learned from from last season, and that's a Russell Martin problem. They got battered at the end of the day. The 3-0 scoreline doesn't flatter Blackburn at all. Fully deserved to win. Blackpool probably now need another centre half because Richard Keogh's gone. It was an okay start last week. I'm still not sure on Michael Abbott anyway. So I'm going to go for 1-1. Right, Huddersfield versus Stoke at the J Smiths. Huddersfield have not had a great start at all. They lost 2-1 to Birmingham. Stoke obviously won 2-0 against Blackpool.
Yeah, much better performance from Stoke. Really solid one at home. But as we saw towards the end of last year and against Millwall on the opening day, and even against Morecambe in the Cup, away from home, form is a problem for Stoke at the minute. It's becoming a regular concern. The issue is for Stoke, this is an away game they have to win because Huddersfield, look, we said it when Schofield took over, it was going to be a difficult season. They've lost a huge section of that team that played at Wembley, and they're all over the place. They got played off the park by Burnley. They were beaten handsomely by Birmingham, and against Preston and midweek, the less said, the better. So I don't think Danny Schofield's going to last long. I'm going to be brutally honest with that. But then we said that at the start of the season. Stoke have to win. I'm going to go for a Michael O'Neill special. I don't think they're going to score as many goals as Huddersfield have letting in some of the others because I think they're going to go more cautious now. But I'm going to go 1-0 Stoke.
Do you have to win this game? I think you might have said that for Huddersfield. I think they have to win this game because it's a rot starting already. All three performances haven't been good at all. Oh, Stoke. I'm not sure Michael O'Neill now. I'm really not. Sorry, Charlie. Still not sure. I'm not convinced. Haven't been convinced for a long time. But I think he will win this game, actually. So I'm going to go for 2-1 victory for Stoke. Next up, Hull. They're at home to Norwich. Hull, how did they do last? They drew 0-0 with Preston and Norwich drew 1-0 with Wigan. So not the best of starts for Norwich.
No, not the best of starts, but the performance against Wigan was much better. They had so many chances to win it. And I guess similar to the Premier League season, no goal scorer. I know Pookie's in there, but they've not been able to produce that in front of goal. Hull, very tough because they've been a lot better defensively, at the start of this season. And the late winner at home to Bristol City, obviously, will have the home fans buoyant. I couldn't see at the start of the season Norwich going 3 without a win at the start, but I think it might happen now. I don't think they'll win this. Hull will win this game, but I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to play safe. I'm going to play cautious, and I'm going back to the Championship's favourite scoreline because I don't think there's much separating these sides, which is huge credit to Hull.
It's not the easiest to start for Norwich, I'll be brutally honest. This is a Championship for you. I'm going to go. I think they will start picking up victories. I think they're going to win this game by 2-0. Regarding the penalty incident, by the way, I don't think it's a penalty.
Interesting. I'm not getting involved after last week. I took too much hate for the Bristol City one.
Well, there's going to be so much hate for the Watford goal. You're going to this one. Kenilworth Road, Luton versus Preston. Luton drew 1-0 with Burnley 1-0, and Preston drew 1-0 with Hull. 0-0 with Hull, should I say.
Yeah, very efficient starts to the season for both sides. Preston, you can't argue that Ryan Lowe's not made them better defensively. Back-to-back clean sheets and 0-0s. Brilliant win in the cup as well. Luton, very similar, very solid, but both teams lacking that cutting edge. Preston, obviously, yet to replace Cameron Archer. Troy Parrott did score in the cup. I know you like to have your favourite joke on that one, but
No, I can't be bothered, sir.
but it is a good sign for them moving forward that maybe he'll step into those shoes. I do think for Luton, this is a game they need to try and get on top and get a victory in. Lots of new attacking players into the club, need some goals, and I'm going to bank them on them to do it. I know the bias is coming out here, but I've only predicted Luton 1 point this season and they've got two. So I'm being fair. I'm going for a 2-1 Luton win. I think it'll be gritty. I think it'll be tight. And I can see us giving away a sloppy goal, which is why I've got Preston to score.
Last time these two teams played, I went to it and Preston were awful. Yeah. Really, really bad. I don't expect it to be the same. I think it's be a close game, but a 2-0 victory for Luton. You know, try a bit special, get one early and then a late one near the end. Yeah, I think that's what Luton need. Luton haven't won a game since the last game of the season, technically if you count the playoffs. Right, next up, Millwall versus Coventry. Millwall lost 2-0 Sheffield United and Coventry didn't play because the pitch was absolutely horrendous at the CBS, and it's not Coventry's fault. Before, I would have criticised them, saying it's your own ground, and but they have no control. They are literally tenants.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, the Commonwealth Games and that have played a part, and it's a strange situation, and it's not a good look on a championship in the first week of August. But it is unfortunately for them an unavoidable situation as tenants going back to problems many years ago. The other issue is obviously we've not covered it yet because we're recording this on a Wednesday. They're now playing at Burton in their cup tie on Wednesday night, which is just baffling. Where's the next home game going to be if the pitch isn't suitable? Because they can't go 2-3-4 behind at this stage. And away to Millwall, you couldn't ask for a much tougher game when you've had 2 weeks off because you're trying to get that freshness into the season. And I know they will have had the cup game midweek. Do they go stronger than they might have otherwise? I'm not sure. Millwall were poor at Sheffield United. If Charlie Cresswell had a dream home debut, he had a poor away debut with a poor pass leading to one of the goals. But at home, Millwall are virtually invincible. I'm barely going to back them to lose at home this year. Coventry are a great side. In other circumstances, I'd go 1-1 draw, but I'm going to go Millwall to nick it by 2-1.
Not ideal. Millwall were horrendous in that first half against Sheffield United. Like Charlie Cresswell was the hero of week 1. Now was the 0 in week 2 because I have no idea who he's passed into. I'm going to go championship favourite scoreline of 1-1. Coventry are not a bad side. Right, Rotherham, they are at home to Reading. Rotherham didn't play because they were supposed to play Coventry. And Reading, they beat Cardiff by 2-1.
Yeah, you've got a feel for Rotherham, haven't you? Because you remember when they went down at the end of the last season, they were in the Championship. They had a huge backlog of games because of COVID, and they're already one down for something that's not of their doing. It was a solid enough performance against Swansea on the opening day, but this game, I know it's only their second. For me, it's huge. At home to Reading, one of those sides that most expect to be in that bottom 6 or 7 mix. Rotherham have to win games like this if they want any chance of surviving. Reading got a really good gritty win against Cardiff last week, did exactly what Cardiff did to Norwich the week before. And Tom Ince scored an absolute worldie, a wonderful winner, suitable to win any game, that one. I really think Rotherham are going to win this game. I've got no logic behind it. But after 2 weeks off, albeit with a cup game on the Wednesday, I'm going to go for them to nick it. I'm going to go 1-0 because I'm not convinced that Reading are going to score goals on the road. In fact, their last away goal was in mid-April.
I'm going to go Rotherham to win as well. I think hopefully Rotherham learned from 2 seasons ago when they lost in the Championship. They didn't win any games against teams that are down there, especially in that late period. They need to start picking up. We think Reading are going to be down there. A lot of people are thinking Reading are going to be down there. They need to pick up points here. Really, really do. But yeah, very good victory for Reading last weekend anyway. If they can Rotherham can make it hostile at New York Stadium, they've got a chance for Rotherham to win 2-1. Sunderland, they're home to QPR. Sunderland beat Bristol City by 3-2, and QPR beat Middlesbrough by 3-2.
Yeah, really decent performance from both. Obviously, QPR flew into a 3-goal lead against Middlesbrough. Very different performance there. In the end, made it a very nervy last half an hour, but really good to see attacking intent. It looks like they're going to be a real threat at home. And we talk about teams making an atmosphere hostile. If you can get Loftus Road bouncing, it's one of the hardest places to go. So no doubts about that. Sunderland were brilliant at Bristol City. They continue to push forwards. I know Bristol City are suspect defensively, to say the least, and I'm sure you'll get onto that as well. But Sunderland were fantastic. Ellis Sims looks a real prospect up there. And with Ross Stewart, who bundled them in League One, got his goal against Bristol City as well. I can see them causing a bit of a threat to sides. And I'm starting to worry your prediction of them being right up in that playoff mix might actually end up being right. So We'll see if that one works out over the whole season. For this game, I think it's really hard to predict, but based on QPR's away performance at Blackburn on the opening day, I'm going to go for Sunderland to edge it. Because if it wasn't for an absolute screamer, they would have won their first home game. They're going to win their second, but there'll be goals. 2-1 Sunderland.
I'm going to go 3-1 to Sunderland. You saw what QPR being hostile when it gets rocking, saying like when it gets rocking, it's very hostile. To be fair, like QPR, yeah, they came right out of the traps, and it felt like the QPR Luton for a couple of seasons ago, 1920. They came out right out of the traps, got to a 3-goal lead, and then messed it up a little bit, and made it nervy near the end. As you said, but I'm not sure on QPR's away form. I'm not. They haven't been good away in recent times, so that's why I think Sunderland are going to nick it 3-1. Wigan versus Bristol City at the DW. Wigan drew 1-1 with Norwich, and Bristol City, just do Bristol City things. They lost 3-2 to Sunderland.
Yeah, and again, 5 goals conceded in 2 games. We've talked about game management about 1,000 times in relation to Bristol City. Look, I can't stress this enough, and I know we get a bit of criticism for it in the comments, but you have to question game management when you're throwing away leads, when you're throwing away points in the last 20, 25 minutes of games every single time. There's a problem there. There is no doubt about it. Going forward, they're very solid. Chris Martin's a good striker. Andy Weimann is a very underrated player in the Championship. But they've got to have a structured back line. And bringing in a star centre-half from a Championship playoff team last year, a right-back who won League Two and was absolutely excellent, you'd think there would be some sort of shoring up. Maybe it'll take a bit of time, but it was same old story again, watching them. Similar to the Swansea one, it was same old story. Wigan, look, it wasn't a great performance at Norwich. They probably didn't deserve a point, but they battled hard. They fought defensively. At home, though, they've got to show more attacking intent than they did against Preston. I'm going to bank on them to do this because they've got to take the risk against Bristol City, knowing the chances of scoring are high. 3-1 Wigan. I think this is going to be the day they arrive in the Championship. And Bristol City, look, they're going to win odd games. They did it to us last season in the predictions, but they're so inconsistent defensively. It does my head in. They're my version of Swansea to you.
Bristol City are my version of Bristol City, and Swansea my version of Swansea. No, yeah. When I saw Bristol City went 2-1 up, I was like, okay, not bad. And then they went 3-2 not long after that. I went, there we go, we're back again. And then seeing the highlights and seeing, Cal Naismith's messed up again. No, what a shame.
He did play well after that, in fairness, but yeah,
but it's not error. The point. Oh. he's cost his team again for the second straight weekend. But yeah, no, it's a tough start for him. Deja's move for Bristol City, in with under Nigel Pearson or under Dean Holden, it feels exactly the same. And they're still conceding 2 goals. Plus, again, it's very, very, I wouldn't say comical, frustrating, because I hate seeing it. I hate seeing it. When, obviously, I don't like team. Well, if you can get away with playing out from the back, good. But if you're going to get caught, like Swansea been getting caught loads of times last season, and now Bristol City again, it happened the same thing. Don't do it. For the love of God, don't do it. However, they won't lose this game, Bristol City. I think they'll get a point now on the board. Wigan, tough place to go to. Good point for Wigan last week. Everyone's like, yeah, it's a bad performance, but I think it's a really good performance. Go to relegated Premier League Norwich, stifle them really, get an early goal, and they have to come out Norwich and try and go more and get Wigan back into their shape. So I think you have to give Liam Richardson a lot of credit there. But I think it'll be the same scoreline as they had last weekend with Norwich. I'm going to go for 1-1. Right. Chris Wilder derby, Middlesbrough versus Sheffield United. Middlesbrough lost 3-2 to QPR, and Sheffield United beat Millwall by 2-0.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was a really fast start from Sheffield United. I know there was a potential dubious, maybe a foul from Ryan Brewster in the build-up to the first goal, but it was a thoroughly deserved victory. And obviously there was a big mistake for the second from Millwall. But Sheffield United looked good. With Brewster and Dye and Berger all in the team together, they look relentless going forward. Obviously, we mentioned we were surprised Brewster was on the bench at Watford. And I think that might be the difference in this game. The issue with Middlesbrough, and maybe it was just a one-off because QPR came out flying, but we all thought at the start of the season, it's going to take a while for them to get their strikers in and start to find form there. Did not expect defensive collapses like that. Experienced players in there. They've now got Lenihan suspended for ridiculous moment in stoppage time as well. Absolutely no need. Obviously, great to see that Marcus Forster's got his first goal from their point of view, but I don't know that Middlesbrough have got enough to win this. I think it might be a slow start. and then potentially rising up the table. So Sheffield United, providing they play the same front three, providing they show more attacking intent than they did against Watford, I think they will pick holes in the Middlesbrough defence. It has been suspect in both games. I'm going to go 2-1 Sheffield United, but I think this might be one of the best games of the weekend.
I'm going to go 2-0 Sheffield United. Surprising Sax Stefan had a bit of a mare, to be fair, because who he's been at. All right, last game he probably played Sax Stefan was that
semi-final.
That semi-final against Liverpool. And once again, trying to play out from the back. This is what happens when you get caught. No, Sheffield United look more settled than Middlesbrough, in my opinion. Great victory last weekend against Millwall. Had to bounce back, really, from that 1-0 defeat to Watford. And they come out the traps really quickly, as I said. So it was good for them to get that 2-goal lead. Could have had more, very much in control. So that was the Sheffield United I expected to have to be really this season. Middlesbrough, very slow, very, very slow. Cost them the game, really. But they can do it. They can put pressure on teams. They can score goals. But they need to do more to win the game overall. But Sheffield United, I think they're a lot better. Chris Wilder probably knows that. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory for them. And the final game is unbeaten Blackburn. 2 out of 2 wins for them. They're at home to West Brom, who drew 1-1 with Watford. I'm not going to talk about the Watford goal.
No, but it was... I tell you what, it's a rotten start for West Brom, isn't it? To be
hard
fair.
Start.
Middlesbrough away, Watford at home. Now Blackburn, who just missed out on the playoffs away. If they can stay unbeaten after this, and I know it might not look exciting, 2-1 draws, but the second half of Middlesbrough and the majority of that Watford game, they were brilliant. And with attacking midfielders who can score goals, if they come up against an open defence, they will get some. Blackburn, I have to be fair, looked rock solid at the back, looked absolutely brilliant. Yes, Swansea gave them gifts. It's going to be hard to judge how much of a good performance that was. But they have ruined 2 of my predictions in one by signing Sammy Schmodix, because that will probably ruin my Peterborough finishing second in League One. And it will also probably ruin my Blackburn being in mid-table, because he looked great. Instant impact, got the first goal. Ben Brereton Diaz.
From a Swansea howler.
From a Swansea howler. Ben Brereton Diaz looked the sharpest he has for a long time. But obviously the big question is, will he be here in 3 weeks' time, as you mentioned with some of the Watford attackers? But overall, really good performance from Blackburn. They've got a settled side. They look solid. And John Dale Thomas, in its early days, but might prove us wrong and exceed expectations. As it is, West Brom, I can't bank on them to lose because they're a really decent side, but defensive howlers in them. Yes, I know you don't want to talk about the smart goal, but...
Was lucky.
It was lucky, but it was also poor from the turnover. And they gave away a penalty, which could have cost them a game they dominated. So... worrying signs defensively. Blackburn will score, but they're going to concede their first of the season too. I think West Brom nick it. 2-1 to finish off. And I think virtually every game I've gone 2-1, haven't I?
Near enough, to be honest. And I had 2-1 to West Brom as well. I'm going to go 2-3 to West Brom instead to end it on that. No, you pretty much nailed it on here. Good, it was a good recovery from West Brom, really, because they dominated before the goal, conceded the stupid goal, and dominated after that. But this is the problem. They dominated the second half against Middlesbrough and they got the equaliser, but they didn't push on. And what West Brom need to learn to get over the line. So they're getting the equaliser, because they've gone behind now in 2 games. They've come from behind, they've got the level. Now they need to learn to actually push on to actually win the game. I think West Brom will do it. It'll be a tough game. Brereton Diaz look very good.
He's got to get a move, hasn't he?
How's no one put a bid in for him? I can't work it out.
I'm looking at the bottom of the Premier League like Everton, desperate for a striker. I'm looking at clubs like that and thinking, why are you not going in for this type of player?
Everton, yeah, because they've only got Calvert-Lewin and they lost Richarlison. So Brereton Diaz is a good replacement, really.
I watch him and I can't get it. But Blackburn will be delighted. They don't want us selling their players.
If it happens, sorry. But yeah, West Brom to win 3-2. Let's have a quick recap what we have predicted for match day 3 in the Championship. Daniel Curry has gone for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2-1s this week. If you want to check my 2-1 account, that is literally it's only 3 2-1s, and a couple of Championship favourite scoreline there as well. And those are predictions for match day 3 in the Championship. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comments and give us your predictions. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Football Podcast. You can be a member of this channel. You can click the join button down below. And we'll see you next time.